let's say you live in Buffalo, New York, or Winnipeg, or wherever it may be, and you have this incredible dream of ending up somewhere warm. Ending up somewhere warm is, and I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong, ending up somewhere warm requires you to relearn your gardening skills. So you're a cold weather gardener and now you're in a climate that has perfect growing weather for 365 days of the year. So what changes? So what really changes is the fact that you have to really rethink the way you garden. It's not the same at all. You have this big problem is you have to keep your soil working 365 days of the year. It requires lots of organic material. It requires lots of cultivating. It requires crop rotations. It requires many things of you as a gardener. What happens here in Ecuador, for example, is the sun is so intense, you have to really protect your soil. And by protecting your soil, you keep the nutrients in the soil. So you have to really create these ground covers where there's very little soil showing. If you can do that, your garden will thrive. You also have a big problem of overgrowing food. So what that means, if you plant 2 packages of carrots, you're better off scheduling those carrot seeds. So what I mean by that is you plant one big row, a week and a half later you plant another big row. So there's a lot of kitchen scheduling where you basically you plant according to the kitchen that you're working. Fortunately, everything grows in this place. There is the only lack of something that we have is lack of sunshine. It rains here a lot. Apples don't grow well here. All those cold weather fruit trees, they don't do well here. They do grow, they do create crops, but they don't grow well. And they don't produce like really good tasting crops. So having an opportunity like this to grow in this place, it's a huge change towards your attitude. Willing to learn from scratch. You basically have to start over. Everything is very, very different here. Getting a soil here to be very productive is very tricky because you have to really understand that soils have a resting period in cold places. They have 6 months where snow is on top of them, where they can actually settle, they can rest, they can not be productive. Here you have to keep going. You have to make sure you use cover crops, make sure you use alfalfa, whatever it may be, to get your soils to stay fresh and rejuvenated. It's a very different type of gardening, and if you understand it, it can be very productive. If you get it wrong, it can be very destructive. This idea of growing too much food is a big issue. You have to sell it. You have to be able to sell it. You have to use it up. You have to repurpose it as compost, whatever it may be. There is a cycle of growth. You have to use that cycle of growth to your advantage. So imagine you're in a garden and every single day, 365 days of the year, you have 19, 20 degrees or 21 degrees. So every day is the exact same weather. The only difference is you might have a windy day, you might have a rainy day, you might have an overcast day, or you might have a bright sunshine day. So those are the only variables you're dealing with. Now, there is an insect cycle, pest cycle here, and the locals will not grow tomatoes a certain time of the year. But nothing is stopping you from growing tomatoes any time of the year. So when a local says to you, you can't plant tomatoes in April because there's a June bug that comes or whatever, they have never planted tomatoes in that time. So you have to sacrifice a bag of tomato seeds and plant tomatoes to see if they're actually correct. So it's your own experimentation that's more important than anything else in this place. Weeding here it's crucial to have really good topsoil, so you can just basically pull your weeds right out. Super easy. If you have great topsoil here, you can maintain your yard really well. If you don't, if you're dealing with really crappy soil, you've got a big problem of maintaining a place, because you need to weed and cultivate and keep this place rotating for the 365 days.